Hey everybody, how's it going? Jenazad here. So as you can see right here, we have this revenue chart that comes around every single month. And as we all know, this is overall pretty incorrect. These numbers are not how much money these games are actually making. They might be just overall approximates using some data found on Sensor Tower, but they're usually not going to be how much they actually make. Like, let's be honest, Pokemon TCG Pocket probably made a lot more money than this. All of these games. And that's not even including stuff like PS5 or computer. So that can contribute a lot to some of these as well. However, what this chart does do is it shows trends. If it's about equally incorrect every single time, then you can see whether it's more or less that particular month, which can be helpful. This month, basically all gachas were down. And that could be attributed to numerous things, like maybe it's near the beginning of the year, so people started spending money, or maybe the games just didn't have good updates. There could be a ton of different things. However, I do believe that in the near future, we're going to start seeing even more shifts on this chart and just overall in the gacha industry, and I want to explain why using this video. So first of all, something you'll notice is the top 3 does not have a MiHoYo gacha. I believe this is the first time since Genshin first released that there wasn't one in the top 3, and I'm not trying to doom post this at all. That's not the purpose, but what I do want to illustrate is that some things have already started shifting. Now, first of all, it's pretty easy to explain some of these. Honkai Star Rail, yeah, of course not a lot of money was spent. First of all, tons of players are really pissed about the game at the moment, which is going to lower revenue, and also a lot of people are saving for Casters because she's the most hyped up unit. Of course, you're just going to wait to spend money on that character. Some people may have spent money on Trivi, but you know. And also, Genshin Impact, ridiculously huge loss here, but easily explained. Guess what? This was the biggest banner of the entire year for them. It was an Archon and Seedalali. Of course, that's going to make a ton. And this one, it's a standard banner character and a crummy filler patch. Who's going to be spending money on that? Of course, it's way lower. Duh. So it's really easy to explain why they're not in the top 3. And Zenless Zone Zero, I mean, look, it's kind of reaching its equilibrium for about how much it makes every month. It's not going to be insane. And, you know, something like Wuthering Waves, yeah, it's like obviously not doing amazing at the moment either. That's kind of around its equilibrium when it doesn't have anything interesting either. But those are the 4 games that most people like to talk about. However, this month we see Pokemon TCG Pocket, which is the biggest IP in the entire world, right? Pokemon is number 1. Love and Deep Space is still doing well. I guess those bondage characters did well. And third is Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle, which, let's be honest, it only actually happened because 10th anniversary. That game is not going to make that much money otherwise. It's just basically impossible. So, why, though, are these games doing worse overall other than those reasons? Well, I would say in the future, I believe this chart is going to change a lot with future releases. Now, this goes along in hand with evidence like this, player sentiment, and also some of the industry. I do know some people in some of these other countries that are making games, such as China and Korea, and something they've mentioned is that a lot of companies are looking less into phone games, and they're actually starting to look into making real games, like a PlayStation game or a PC game. Some evidence of this would be a game like Wukong from China, seeing something like Stellar Blade, which was made by the Nikkei folks. Something like Lies of P, I believe it was the same company as Brown Dust. And there's multiple, like, what's that mech game that just came out? That game in open beta, that was made by the Snowbreak people, Mecha Break, that's its name. So as you can see, they're starting to make some real games. Why? Well, if they make more phone games, they would compete. But a really big thing is that there's a lot of stagnant existences in this entire gacha market. Essentially, there's only so many players that you can actually get into these gachas. And they've gone a lot of players. When Genshin came out, most normal humans that play that game turned into gacha degenerates like me. But they've dragged so many players into it, and they're having trouble dragging more. So right now, there's essentially a pool of players that can play these gachas. And it's hard to get players to quit these other gachas, but when they do, they move over to your gacha and it reduces the revenue of that game and increases the revenue of this game. So essentially, since there's only a certain amount of players at the moment, and obviously it'll increase or decrease over time a bit, but at the same time, you can't just infinitely increase the amount of players. When a new game comes out, it doesn't just get a ton of players out of nowhere. They have to get those players partially from this pool of players and a little bit outside. So for instance, games like Ananta and Arknight's Enfield, when they release, Well, they're pretty huge releases. So a lot of people are going to think, can I really play 4 gachas at the same time, or am I going to drop one? And 4 gachas is already an unbelievable amount. So think about the average normal human being. Are they actually going to play all those games? So some of these games we're going to start seeing drop more and more over time, not just because the games are getting worse, but also because players have to move to other games. And some might just quit gachas altogether. So this pool, it can change, increase and decrease, but it's kind of a strict amount of size at the moment. And so over time, when a game like Arknight's Enfield releases, and some people are saying, well, people are not going to play the game that long. Like, maybe they'll only play it for 2 months and then they're going to quit and go back to the other games. But you see, once the FOMO is gone for a game, a lot of people don't go back. So let's pretend that we quit Honkai Star Rail to go play Arknight's Enfield for a month. So that's 30 days of you not caring about that game. A lot of people might not even go back. And so right now, Hoyoverse is by far on top. Let's be honest. They own the biggest gachas in the entire game, or the entire market, I should say. Well, maybe as opposed to Pokemon TCG Pocket, but really huge gachas, and they've had a stranglehold on the entire thing. But now things might start to actually shift a little bit with all these high quality gachas, because after Genshin came out, a lot of companies went, you know what, we should make a big budget gacha now. And so all these games are in the pipeline. They've been in the pipeline for years, and we're just now starting to see some of them show their head. There's that new Azure Lane game, Azure Promilia, there's Ananta, there's Arknight's Enfield, there's NTE, there's all these big gachas suddenly popping up. And every year we're going to see more and more, and they all have to compete. And if a game comes out and it really piques your interest, you might play that game instead of something else. So I know that these numbers aren't the most important thing, but it's interesting to see the numbers kind of drop, and I'm thinking that a lot of these numbers for a lot of these games are going to drop more as more games are coming out. We're going to start seeing a lot of shifts in the gacha market soon. So I kind of want to use this whole gacha revenue chart more as a talking topic rather than talking about the actual revenue itself, because realistically, this isn't really all that important. Honestly, some of the best games, I think, in the entire gacha market or at way lower revenues, like $1.2 million for Limbus Company or $3 million for Wizardry. Like, they're great, amazing games, but they're not really the type of thing that the average person is going to want to play. And people like to talk about the war between, like, you know, Hoyoverse and Kuro Games and all that crap, and use these charts as justification for why one game is better than the other, but realistically, it's completely pointless, and it just doesn't matter. So I do believe we're almost at the end of an era, and I think it might occur within a year or so, where you start to see so many changes on this chart and more games start to really compete and fight. And guess what? That's better for all the players. The more competition there is, the better. Competition breeds excellence, and so we're going to start seeing games have to be more generous, make more content, just treat the players better and be better in every possible way. And I find that very exciting. So hopefully we'll see some good things occur because of this. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you next time.